It is the morning programme, Good Morning Newry and Morning the World. And at the heart of Newry, heart of Newry in particular, you find this man, James McAreavey. And James McAreavey is of the Newry Maritime Association. And the poster James brings me today tells me we're to have the unveiling of a Rourke sign and a port workers reunion night. These are two mighty events. I just get the sense of old Newry and the coal yards coming back to me, James.
Well, that's the idea, Rowan, that it would spark those type of memories, kindle that type of ambience, atmosphere. You know, just listening to you reading it out, Port Workers Reunion Night. I mean, realistically, how many people in Newry know we even had a port?
It's true. How many people remember the coal yards where fishers were before the quays?
Yeah.
Fewer and fewer, James.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah. And yet and all, as you're well aware, Rowan, being a Mary Street man, the port was the life's blood. It literally was the life's blood of the town, be it for employment or sort of secondary employment,
Yeah.
or just merely as a service provider.
Yeah.
The cargoes that came into the B&I shed, where every shop owner or merchant was waiting on the like of Kevin Turley coming round with the Clydesdale horse and cart for his 3 boxes from Manchester or whatever.
I remember it was the forerunner of the roll-on, roll-off that we have today down at Warren Point.
That's right.
But I remember so well, two huge rolls of lead which had been taken in, but by some mischance, the lead had fallen into the canal directly behind the black shed.
Yes.
And we dived to recover the lead. And in those days, Jerry Rankin was the ship's for the fisher fleet anyway, and he was the general ship's, not chandler, the man agent in Newry, and we would get the phone call to come every now and again to do an inspection, a diving inspection underneath the ships on the hull. And the only way you could do that was with by touch, because it's total darkness, and you had about 3 feet between the bottom of the ship and the base of the canal, the floor of the canal. So you'd be doing that and blah, blah, blah. And we'd always got a few £100 for doing that, plus the generosity of the skipper. If he was from the Eastern Bloc, you would have got a big bottle of vodka. If it wasn't vodka, you would have got a bottle of whiskey or whatever. So those times are very vibrant in my mind, as well as the sheer busyness of the port. Yeah. You mentioned a minute ago it was the place of industry. There was huge coming and going there all the time.
Yeah, it was, well, to coin a phrase, a hub of activity.
Absolutely.
And it really was, you know.
Just as you're speaking, I have the vision in my mind now of the railway tracks running down there and crossing over, and the coal carriages coming along, being pushed along, and walking round the corner and seeing the boats tied up. Those were huge days.
Well, the whole area, I mean, as you know, when we were speaking before we came on air, even the communities that have disappeared, like, I mean, you said to me, how many people would know where William Street was,
right.
you know. And when you think of all the shops, the businesses, Brady McClelland and the vegetable shop, you know.
Slim Murray just beside her running the grocery shop at that stage.
And the pubs, the row of pubs who were along there.
You had McGrath the barber, you had Cassidy's pub. My father used to drink in Cassidy's pub. You had
Jerry Cosgrove.
Cosgrove, yeah. He used to drink with Jerry Cosgrove. The two of them were good mates.
Yeah.
And just then there was McKevitt's. They had a boarding house then.
Boarding house.
And for Nance McKevitt's across the road was the garage of McAteer. And you went into that garage and there's a huge airdrome of a place, a huge hangar of a place right up into the roof space.
That's right.
Amazing.
And then Pope Murphy with the wee shop next door where Newsround is now.
That's right.
And Tommy McKeown had the cobbler shop.
The cobbler shop on the corner just as you went in there.
He was my wife's grandfather.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake. And then to serve the petrol, they had the arm that swung
That
out
swung-
over the. Am I right?
That's right.
Out over the footpath, and then you crossed the road and up. And Biz Keenan was halfway up. We spent our pennies and our sixpences. And McCourt's, Bridie McCourt was where the Frontier Picture Palace is.
That's right. And they had a little lending library
Yeah.
in the shop.
They had. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Tommy Casey's pub, where you got the very best bass in the world.
Iconic.
And Tommy was always polishing the glasses, and on the wall in the corner, the clock out of Green Ore Station. That's what Tommy had there. Goodness gracious. But I mean, none of that. That, you know, those were the days, if you were going into a real pub,
Yeah.
where there was shining glasses and brasses and conversation.
And the barman was a lifelong professional.
That's right.
As you say, like,
Yeah.
you know, he took a pride in the job, the shining of the glasses, you know, and
Absolutely.
enough drink now, young man.
That's right. That's
You know,
right.
that's-
That was a done.
Come
done
back tomorrow, and there was
yeah.
no questioning
Not
that,
at
you
all.
know.
No, they were far, far better days. But I'm filled with excitement at the notion of a port. Just the very title, Port Workers Reunion. That's
Yeah.
a gem. That's
Yeah.
a gem.
Well, I was speaking to
Are there
Heather-
many of them around?
Well, not the old men now. There'd be literally, we're talking about a handful, but there's still a fair gathering of the men who worked in the port in the last days. More coal trimmers.
What's a coal trimmer?
Well, instead of the dockers shoveling the coal rolling, as you know, in the mid-50s, 54 I think it was, the two cranes came to Newry with the fishers, with the grabs.
Oh, yeah.
And that effectively did away with the dockers.
Aye, no
but-
more shoveling.
But they still needed men for the wings and the holes, etc., for digging out
digging it out. So
and brushing up. And then in later years, in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, they got bobcats
I remember the Bobcats
as well.
'Cause
And the
anytime-
crane would lift the bobcat in.
Yeah, and she would do it, so, yeah.
She would gather up the boys would brush out the from in round the corners, and it would bring it into a heap in the middle for the grabs
Grab
to
and
lift
get
it.
it.
Now, those last men in O'Rourke's and Fishers, there's still quite a lot of them about. In fact, young Sean Byrne, who works here,
yeah.
Sean's father, just now when I mentioned Sean Byrne, Sean's father, Colin, worked in Fishers in the yard, and he would be on the boats. And Sean's mother was the late Kathleen Kane.
Yes.
Many people will know the Kane family, well-respected family in
Lovely
Barcroft
family.
Park.
Lovely family.
And PJ and his family and extended family, i.e. some son-in-laws, at one stage there were 11 members of that family working in
My
Fishers.
goodness, in Fishers, yeah.
Yeah. So again, Rowan, it gets back to the importance of the port, and in particular the Fisher firm,
Yes.
as a source of employment,
Mm-hmm.
and what it meant to the local spend, to the economy. Like when you think of the wage
Huge,
bill
yeah, huge.
generated then,
Constantly.
you know.
Yeah. But they were a brand of men all to themselves.
They were.
You know, that was the port, and they were the port workers, and no one else got in there. That was a tight
And it was
community.
generational.
Absolutely.
I
Handed
mean,
on.
Jimmy Coyle or Jerry Coyle over in Dromlane often talks about being a third generation docker.
Yeah.
You know, like his
His
father,
grandfather,
Jerry,
his father.
and the grandfather
Yeah.
were there before him, you know.
Absolutely. You remember the time, and I did very well out of it, not that I'm seeking to do very well out of it, but the army came along and they pushed, bulldozed into the canal, an oil tanker out of the quarry. And they did it because they said there was a bomb on it and they wanted to get rid of it and all of that. And I was approached to do the dive on it, to put the slings on it, and to do an inspection of it to check whether there are any bombs on it or not. So I did the deal, went in and did it and blah, 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 blah. Got the thing down and fastened each four
Yeah,
slings,
yeah.
one to each corner of the thing, and we got it up and out. And it's very, very funny because when I went to look for my money of the Port and Harbour Trust, the man representing the Port and Harbour Trust was a man called Cole. He was the Port and Harbour Trust engineer, and he came into court and swore that there was never any danger of a bomb on it at all.
Oh,
And it went to court. Luke Curran represented them. I represented myself. I won. I got, I think it was £200-300 on the day, and great headlines in the paper. Judge praises Newryman's courage. And I went to the bank with me money. But I met a man many, many years later, and I suppose it's fair enough to tell it now. He said, Rowan, when you were down below doing the work on that, they were up on the surface, the Port and Harbour Trust, telling everybody, get back, get back, get back. She could go at any moment. And these were the people who went into court and said there was no threat of anything.
well, easy to be wise after the event, isn't
After
it?
the event. But anyway, that was good, and I remember that so well. The other, you mentioned bobcats.
Yeah.
When we were doing the dives underneath the ships and checking out the hulls, you know, your tank would be bumping on the bottom and your hands would be on the bottom. You could hear the bobcats running around above you.
Oh, yeah.
Strong memories of that kind of thing. And
Well, on this Friday week, on the 24th, Peter Kern of the Hilton Showband
Yes.
fame and still doing spots of entertainment
would
in
you
the
get him
local
to come in
area.
maybe sometime? I'd love him to come in sometime.
Oh, I'm sure
Peter, it'd be lovely to have
would
him
come
here.
in. Well, he's going to come down, and Peter, you see, was a docker,
Yeah,
and his brother Mickey.
yeah.
The father, Paddy, who was a Cecil Street man from the Valley.
The valley. You don't. If they don't know where William Street is, they'll even less know where the valley was.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Paddy got one of the new houses in Dromlane in 1951, and Paddy was married to a girl from Thomas Street, Bridget McGuire, and the McGuires, that would have been a brother of hers who had Jimmy was one of the sons. Her brother Paddy had a large family who included Jimmy, who owned the Dublin Road Service Station,
Ah,
the
yeah.
Esso
yes,
garage.
yes. Connection to the McKevitts.
Yeah,
Up the road, McKevitts and Mary Street.
That's right.
Oni and Jean.
that's
and the
right.
rest of them. Yeah.
So, Bridget, again, you see the link up. Paddy was a docker, and he married a girl from a seafaring family.
That's right.
Bridget
That's right.
McGuire.
That's right.
So they were living in Thomas Street, and they got a house then over in Dromlane. But Peter Kern was reared beside Paddy McCann, our old friend Paddy.
Yeah, indeed.
And good morning, Paddy, if you're listening.
How are you, Paddy? Good day to you indeed.
And they moved over to Dromlane, and Peter, like his father, was working in the docks. And he talks, this is a good story, Rowan, just tell you quickly. He was telling me one day about a diving competition that he had with a Dutch seaman. And you remember the timber berth was up near Dublin Bridge.
I do.
The last berth.
Yeah, I do. I do.
And anyway, Peter was down working on the ship, but it was hot weather and one thing and another, and a few of the boys dived off the stern end of the ship into the basin. So there was a competition. And apparently this Dutch fella was the next thing to an Olympic gold medalist, and he kept moving up and eventually ended up on the wing of the bridge,
You're joking.
diving into the canal. So him and Peter eventually ended up on the roof of the bridge,
Oh my God.
diving into the canal. And they couldn't be separated. Both of them did the ultimate. So it was decided then to climb up on the roof of the said black shed, the B&I
Oh,
shed,
sweet Jesus. Yes.
and Peter dived off the roof of the black shed into the Albert Basin. The Dutchman
Didn't.
reneged.
But you see,
Crazy Irishman.
no good, no good, no good. Listen to me. We'll remind the people. It's the Friday, the 24th of October. Yes.
Friday the 24th in
That's
the Albert
Friday week.
Basin
This Friday week.
at 6 o'clock, and then we're having the presentation night in the
And the night's at
INF
7 o'clock.
in William Street.
In William
Now
Street.
you have to know where William Street is.
Fernance Biz Keenan shop, and up the road just a wee bit from McCourt's.
And if you like, you could even go down to Tommy Casey's.
Tommy, and just
And
remember
if your
there,
car's low on petrol,
you go over to McAteer's.
McAteer, swing the arm out over the
You will.
footpath, and you could go in and get the Irish News and Pope Murphy's.
And Pope Murphy's, and if you were stuck for anything to eat, you can go round to McKenna's around the corner in the back of Mary Street, and you can get your potatoes.
And after all that, if the excitement is too much and you expire, you can go into Jerry McArdle and he'll put you in a box and take you to your place of rest.
And can anybody go to this 7 o'clock gig?
Anybody can come. We'd love to see anybody.
As many people as possible.
Anybody that has any interest,
In
even
the canal.
Seascapes employees in Warrenpoint.
Ah, indeed. Well,
Dolores-
he'd have a long way to come.
Well, you see, we do have outworkers as well.
Oh yeah, so he'll
You know-
be there. Where is he now? He's in Dubai or something like that.
Yeah,
Seascapes man.
Kuwait, yeah.
Kuwait, that's it. Thanks for coming in. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to play you some music now, and then we're going into the story of the Open University, because I have the boss of the entire Open University in Ireland on the programme this morning.
No wee
And,
ways with you, Rowan.
No, there's no point. If you're here, you may as well be here for the big ones as well as the wee ones, you know. God bless you.
Thanks,
Oh, well,
Rowan.
Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Take care. Andrew.